bother you, it would be a really shitty interview.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh man. If that was the deal breaker for you, I'm like, forget it. I'm over.
Yeah.
Because some people
Right.
are like that, man. Kay, how's it going, man?
It's going very good. How are you?
Doing great. Before we get started, I want to have you pronounce your name for me. Because
for sure.
I got to tell you, your name has so many accent marks. It looks like eyelashes. Like, I was like, holy shit. When I saw it, I was like,
so funny.
I'm not going to try this, dude. I was like, I looked at it, it's blinking at me. Like, you're so.
That's so funny.
I never heard that.
Dude, I'm going to steal that, Jay, if you don't mind.
Please
Eyelashes,
do.
I love that.
Yeah, I never heard that.
I love that
That's
so
good.
much. But yeah, so my name is Kálmán. Kálmán is the first name and Máté is the last name. Now, you see, let me give a little historical context. Hungarian, the language, is a phonetic language. So you see, in Hungarian, we have the letter A alone, which is off. And then we have the letter A with the line, the accent mark is A. So just like with the E, we have E without the line, which is E, and then E with the line is A. So Kálmán, Máté. But, you know, of course, because it's so hard, I just go by K. Everyone calls me K.
Common mate is not very hard at all. And it's got really cool alliteration. Like, I like that, but I can understand why you would have to do it because people butcher the hell out of names and they like to make assumptions about you. The more accent marks that are on a name in America, especially when you're in the South, the more apt they are to speak slowly as if you have like some kind of mental incapacity, or they speak louder because they think that your ears don't work, you know, because you come from somewhere else. It's weird.
I love the louder part.
No, trust me, I know.
What'd you say?
I love the louder part. Like, if someone's not English, not first language, I could see maybe slowing it down a bit, but like, where are you from? Like, why are you yelling?
They do that. You know, I don't understand.
Right.
Well, Kay, I want to thank you for coming on the show. This is a Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. Kay is here to discuss some really interesting topics and has a very broad background in philosophical and biblical studies, as well as a life-changing event that he wants to discuss with us. I'm super fascinated with all of this. So welcome to the show, Kay. Gary, glad you're here as well. Anything you got going on, Gary, before we get started?
No, nothing really. Same old stuff, just trying to make cool shit and, you know, get it out to the masses. So hopefully there's some new cool stuff coming.
Always.
Big thing is the big rim racing. You know, it's a new racing league that we're doing. And Chicago, we're coming July 29th. We'll have a big event there. So maybe come check it out. And it's going to be all over the place. So I think that's the biggest one.
This insane culture, just, you know, to kind of highlight this for a moment. I love that group of people and the camaraderie and the rivalry at the same time. It's big rim racing is, you want to explain what that is, Gary, real quick?
Yeah, it's like normally you would see like the donks with the big gold wheels and you know, the G bodies, which are, you know, really popular still in the Midwest and in the South. And like, you think of those as slow, like cruisers, you know, even almost low riders, even though they set up, but these are race cars. You know, they have all the bling, for lack of a better term, and the dope paint jobs and everything, but they're, you know, engine swaps and transmission swaps, and they're fast as shit and look good. And it's the first urban racing that you know the country's really had. So it started in the South and it's growing, and you know it's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's like something new to some, old to many, but you know we're trying to push it out there. It's just, you know, a new alternative to racing. You know, most of the racing you see on TV is like a bunch of hillbillies making left turns for 4 hours, and that's not really what I'm into.
Well, it's not Family Guy. It was like, go in a circle, advertise stuff. Go in a circle, advertise stuff.
Right.
But enough.
Gary, you're going to have to let me know the location of this event in Chicago, because now I'm very curious. I'm going to have to come check it out.
Yeah, I will definitely, I'll send it your way. And it's technically Wisconsin, but it's like right over the border. But I'll send you all the info.
Nice.
It'll be cool.
Yeah, Chicago people are used to that because you have to get to open areas to do anything fun. Otherwise, I lived on State and Ninth for a couple years and loved it there. Where are you at in Chicago? Okay.
Yeah, I'm specifically in Old Town. I'm on LaSalle.
Nice. That's a beautiful area.
Yes, it really is. No, for sure. Exactly. When we moved to Chicago recently, we moved just recently, March 11th of this year, we moved from Durham, North Carolina. That's where I did my graduate studies at Duke. But we just moved recently, and we thought like, hey, if we're going to come to Chicago, we might as well have the real experience, like the actual Chicago,
That's
like
what we
downtown,
did.
because, so many people say, oh, like, I live in Chicago. Like, where at? Oh, like all the way out here in the suburbs.
I'm in Naperville.
Well, it's like, okay, like that's Chicago and not Chicago. So I'm like, hey, let's go and have the real experience,
Yeah, as soon as you put
I
Ville
totally
at the end, you're not in a town, like in the city. Like Ville, like you're okay. You're in one of the Villes,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Jay, we were talking right before he popped back on. He originally moved to Lima, Ohio I was talking about a friend of mine that lives in Kansas, and when he moved to America, and he was like all pumped up about like, like Miami and Hollywood and Vegas, and he's like ends up in like outside of Wichita, and he's like still pissed about it, like 20 years later. So he's like ended up in Lima, Ohio. Like, fuck.
First of all, it's got the shittiest bean. So who the fuck wants to go there?
Yeah.
And then second of all, I have a very similar thing that happened to me when I joined the Army back in like the dawn of time. They told me I was going to New York, and I was like, fuck yeah. And this is in the middle of the 90s, so it's not like I can Google shit. They're just like, all I understand is the word New York. Next thing you know, they drop me off. There's fucking cow pastures and all this other crap. And I'm like, that's what I left. Like, who the f- sent me back out here to the middle of buttfuck nowhere? It was upstate New York in the middle of like the boonies. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was so mad at the gods. I was shaking my fist. So I was like, how did I go from one pasture to another?
Yeah.
Right.
How is Lima? How is that culture shock?
Well, so you see, like the fact is, of course, like, when I moved, so I guess, Jay, just so that you know, right, I grew up and I was born in Hungary. That's in Central Eastern Europe. And so because my mom married an American and he couldn't learn the language because Hungary is supposedly like the 6th hardest language in the world, he said, okay, let's go ahead and move to America. And, as I said to Gary, I was like, oh my goodness, like so amazing, Hollywood, I watch MTV all the time, listen to music. I'm like, man, like we're going there. And you're right, we end up in Lima. Now you see, like I moved to America not knowing a lick of English. So I mean, other than I correct myself, other than, man, I have a piece of gum because my stepdad only would give us gum if we said that to him. But so I don't know any English. And then we end up in this podunk town, and not only like the good part of Lima, like the hood of Lima. So, yeah, it's, it's just,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, it is what it is, but, like we may do, like, but my dreams of fame and Hollywood just,
Can I ask a question real quick? I want to pause for a moment because first of all, you have amazing hair, right? This has not been brought up, but you have amazing hair. Did you have this amazing hair when you landed in Lima, Ohio?
Now, you see, Jay, I almost said this to you before we began this conversation, but I didn't want to spoil it. I have a story very similar to yours with your beard, and I claim the same exact thing. This is God-given. Like this, I didn't do anything to deserve this. This just happened to me.
It's beautiful, by the way. It's amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, you know what the funniest thing is? It's that I've only been growing this out for a year, and before this, I only had short hair, and I didn't even know I had this. This was a surprise to me. Like this just came out, and it just.
It's like having a Play-Doh fun factory in your head. You don't know it.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know I had this. And now everybody is like, oh my gosh, I love your hair. And I'm like, thank you so much. Like, thank you. I didn't know. Like,
that's
I had
like
this,
discovering you're a different race when you change your hair. It's so weird. I love that you didn't know that your hair was so amazing until then.
Yeah. Dude, it's the craziest thing. Nowadays, I feel like Samson, Samson, his source of his strength was his long hair. And now I feel like my source of compliments is my hair. If I cut it off, like it's gone. Like, because I just get so many compliments.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You got to keep it till it falls out now. Yeah.
Somebody got a squeaking going on in the background. I hate to interrupt for a moment.
Yeah, that
hear
is
it.
totally
I don't
my
think
fault.
it's
That
here,
is my
though.
dog.
Oh, is
let
it?
me-
Okay, I
Yeah,
wanted to
you
make
know-
no. It's fine. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a technical thing because it was like the same frequency the whole time. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this? I'm like lifting my ear. I'm trying not to. I'm like having a seizure, and I looked for my dog actually when I first heard it. I looked outside the studio door, and I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah,
What
that's
kind of
totally
dog
my
is
fault.
it?
He is a mini poodle. We think that he is most likely mixed with dachshund, but he is some sort of, and he just, he is such a mama's and daddy's boy that I'm home and
He looks like
mommy
Falcor.
is not home. I'm unfortunately unfamiliar with Falcor. What is
Gary,
Falcor?
you know who Falcor is?
No clue.
No, Never Ending Story, the dog that flew.
Oh, I mean, I never saw that movie. Probably, like I know of it, but yeah, I don't.
You guys suck.
Yeah,
Sorry, Jay.
Wasted a
Sorry.
whole great reference on that.
Yeah, I'll Google
I'm
it and
sorry.
like
Let's go back to talking about Lima or Lima,
Yeah.
Ohio.
it's America's
But,
bean.
Yeah.
America's bean. Man, I'd like to punch the guy that handed those out first. Like, who picked that up, ate one, and said, let me have two?
Yeah,
Who knows?
it's probably all that they had
Hungry.
wherever they were. But yeah, like
Hungry.
Lima's like in the probably like the most remote part of Ohio. It's like in the middle of like Dayton and Toledo, kind of, and like on the west
That's correct.
side. It's like not really. It's about as far as you could get away from like a big city in Ohio, probably.
That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
Very rural. The hood is not the hood. The hood is socioeconomic versus race. And it's very bizarre. It's like a poor whitish type of scenario. Florida and Ohio have a highway that no other has. There's like a direct flight between Ohio and Florida every single day.
Yeah.
Of course, exactly. All the snowbirds, they're like, yo, like, get me out of this cold weather. Gary and I were just talking exactly like, right. I moved to Lima, Ohio, now in Chicago. And, we just recently moved to Chicago from Durham, North Carolina. And so we experienced 4 years of great weather. And so I was so reluctant to come back to the cold, but, it is what it is,
Chicago is its own world. I love Chicago. And I hate the rap that it gets and the way that it's portrayed in the media, because that city is so safe to walk around at any time. Great food. It's all Midwestern people. Nobody's got a bad attitude. They're holding doors. They're nice. I'm like, I don't even understand why it gets portrayed, because they look at this microcosm that they've created. Like, they've put all these people into a box, they poke them with a stick and take pictures. It's fucking ridiculous. And report that as what the city is, instead of getting in there and helping and focusing on the problem that they're creating.
Yeah. Right. Oh, no, for sure. Exactly. We've had absolutely no issues. And exactly, I don't really understand what bad rap gets, Chicago gets like, and it's like, I feel perfectly safe. Like, there's never been like, oh my gosh, of course, there's a lot of sirens and of course a lot of fire trucks and whatever, but that's just a big city. Of course, there's a lot of people. So, it's bound to happen.
Absolutely. So Durham to Chicago is also a culture shock and a change. And I love that you studied the biblical studies that you took were in the actual Bible Belt. So if you're going to come to America and you're going to study the Bible Belt is where you park yourself and you sit down. What was that like? And what did you gain? What kind of knowledge and perspective? How'd you go into that?
Oh, that's a long story, but let me go ahead and describe it to you. You see, I grew up in Hungary in the church. And, of course, like when I came to America, I remained in it. Now, during high school, I told God, hey, I don't need you. I can take care of myself. And so, like, of course, I got into all the regular stuff, the drinking, the smoking, the sex, all that kind of stuff. So then, September 2nd of 2012, I had my motorcycle. People don't like for me to call it crotch rocket, but that's what I always called it. So, it's a race. I don't know.
Who's upset about that term? And if they are, they've already got problems.
It's a sport bike.
Who knows? It's like, look, like, it's just the term for it. It's that type of bike. But, because it's like there's all sorts of motorcycles. And I want to specify that I have a fast motorcycle. But So yeah, all my life I wanted a crotch rocket, and in that time, I had the money to go ahead and buy one. So I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I was going on a country road in Lima, Ohio, with my crotch rocket on September 2nd, 2012. And there were no witnesses. I don't remember the day. And something happened, most likely, as I thought about it, and as I know bikes, my bike went into a wobble, which forced me into the ditch on the side of the road. And I hit a ditch I hit a driveway at the end of the ditch, which catapulted my bike and I into the air. Now, mind you, I was going 118 miles per hour. So this is, within
a
so
millisecond.
I did the calculation. Yeah. So I go in 0.2 seconds, I go 30 feet. This is like, in my mind, it's
I'm
so
sorry
slow.
to laugh. But the human body is not meant to travel at that velocity.
It's crazy. But so, right, my bike hits a telephone pole to the right, and I somehow veer to the left, and I hit the road. Now, if I had the ability, I could share the scene, the day, the scene pictures with you. I have it from the police report.
Send them to us. Well, if you're willing to, we'll share them with the episode.
I'm more than willing. It's really crazy. The telephone pole had seen better days, let me tell you. It shattered.
I felt good for you when you said you missed the telephone pole, and then you said the alternative was the road, and I immediately shriveled back up and said, oh dear God, how long do you slide at 118 miles an hour?
Better than hitting that pole, though.
I slid very long.
Oh,
fuck.
Yeah, but so, right, exactly. So that's exactly what happened. Like, right, I hit the road. Now, mind you, like, I was dumb back then. I was a teenager who knew everything about the world. And so I was only wearing shorts and a shirt, and then with shoes untied. So, like, long story short, yeah, I got lots of road rash.
Dude, you were naked. Were you wearing a helmet?
Yeah, dude. Luckily, because even with the helmet, like I suffered such severe brain trauma that they had to check for brain swelling, and so they had to drill into my skull. But luckily, right, I didn't have any, so of course that's why I'm still here. But I broke my jaw, I broke my neck, I broke my back, and I broke my right femur, and of course road rash down to bones and tendons.
Oh. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah,
dude,
I can't imagine that. I wrecked my moped in Bali doing like 7 miles an hour, and I had road rash and like fucking fucked me up like nowhere near what you're talking about. I couldn't imagine going 100 miles an hour faster and flying off that thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't either, honestly. Sometimes I really do wish I did remember the day, but sometimes I'm like, well, it's probably best that I don't.
I feel like that's a self-defense mechanism of the mind. Is there really a need to recall yourself careening down the road, breaking bones? Probably not. And on top of that, you'd probably have the memory of a shoe and a dryer. Like, what the fuck are you going to remember? Light, dark road, light, dark road, light, dark road as you flip.
Right. Right.
That's scary shit, though.
So that's what happened. And, so I don't remember the day or the first 14 days of my hospital stay.
Oh, shit.
I woke up one day and I looked at my arms and was like, I'm alive and I'm good. Like, that was my first memory. And so then, I got out of the hospital after 21 days, almost like spotless. The only thing is I was on crutches just because they had to put a metal rod in my femur because that was the only way they could go ahead and fix it. But so I'm on crutches, but I'm good. Like, I'm golden, like, no problem. But so I go back to church, after I get out, and then people are like, oh my gosh, God's got big plans for you, this and that. And at that time, still not on that boat. And I said, okay, like, get out of here with that stupid mumbo jumbo. Like, I don't believe that stuff. But so, I go back to my life, do things as usual. But then the following December, so this is like a year and a couple months, I'm at church, and all of a sudden I feel this like banging on my heart. And of course, like, I know the Bible, and there's this passage in Revelation, the book of Revelation, that, behold, I stand at the door and knock, Jesus says to the church. And so I say to the Lord, Lord, I know what you're doing. I appreciate you, but my life is great. And like, I look at my sister's life, my pastor's life, they're fully devout Christians. I'm like, I don't want that. Like, no, thank you. And so second week, same thing happens. The third week, of course, during that time, I'm sure like I'd been, processing all this kind of stuff. And I said, you know what, Lord, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go ahead and give you my whole life. I'm going to go ahead and do this with all my strength, all my effort. And so then and there, I commit to go ahead and following the Lord again. And so, I'm over here, beginning to read the Bible, because growing up, I never really read the Bible and all that kind of stuff. Christians don't. No, and of
you
course,
knew like
exactly,
the basic
right.
8, like the Bible for a kid was a Crayola box with 8 crayons in it. You knew the basic passages that you were supposed to repeat back to a pastor or a priest or whatever it was. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten. You knew how to spit out those particular ones, but you didn't know how many sons of whoever or acts and everything. Dude, that thing is full of so much that you would never tap at that age, because it has too many these, thous, and thys in it.
Yeah. So you see, exactly. I don't know the Bible, so I'm like, okay, well, hey, let me go ahead and begin reading the Bible. So as I begin finding, things in the Bible and in learning about God and stuff, I start to remember me going back to church and people saying that God's got big plans for me. And so then, now that I'm Christian, I'm like, maybe God does have big plans for me. Maybe that is true. And so now, I'm in this like searching stage. Like, okay, so then what is it? Like I live in freaking Lima, Ohio. Like, like big things happen in like LA, New York. Like, what's going to happen here? So, I'm searching and searching. And so I after high school in 2012, I enrolled in Ohio State, the Lima branch campus. Ohio State University.
I got excited for a second.
Has a
like, yeah. So
What's
Lima.
that?
I got excited when he said Ohio State. I'm like, yeah. Oh, Lima branch.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Exactly. That's not exciting at all. But so, I couldn't finish the first semester because of my motorcycle accident. I missed too much, but then I go back, finish the spring semester of 2013, and then of course continue on the fall semester of 2013. Now, in that fall semester of 2013, I find out about this multi-level marketing opportunity called Vima. Now, by this time, Vima is no longer an MLM company because of stuff that happened, but they still sell the product. But, I see these 20-year-olds with BMWs, Mercedes, making all these millions of dollars. I'm like, okay, that is my ticket. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And of course, like for me, I'm a very passionate individual. When I set my mind to something and get passionate about it, it's like, it's done deal. Like, so I enroll in it and I drop out of college. I said, I don't need this. Like, I don't need this degree to do this company. So because I drop out, my mom kicks me out of the house. Says, hey, okay, if you're dropping out, like, you've got to get out of here. So I am dating this girl that I work with, and I move in with her. And you see, both of us were like, yo, there's nothing going on in Lima, Ohio. Let's go ahead and go to Columbus, Ohio, where my older sister is going to the Ohio State University in the actual Ohio State. And so that doesn't work out. We go to Toledo, Ohio. That's where we end up. And, well, okay, bigger city. So, but again, there's nothing going on in Toledo, Ohio, but,
I get it. But going to Tampa from where I'm from would have been like, oh my God. But I get it. It's Toledo.
Yeah. Right. So, I'm trying to do this Christian thing. My parents know that now I've committed my life to the Lord. But, so we get an apartment together. We're having sex, the whole 9 yards and stuff. And so my stepdad one day says, yo, like, hey, if you love her all that much, like, why don't you all marry her and stuff? And I immediately get so convicted. I was like, man, Lord, I know I'm trying to do the thing. I'm trying to find out this purpose. I'm trying to make this Vima multi-level marketing thing work. But like, this is just what it is. I can't just go ahead and go back to Lima, say, sorry, like, I'm trying to follow the Lord. Like, I can't be doing this, So long story short, we get married. We get married in July of 2014. And so 3 months later, she comes to me, and says, hey, I think we made a mistake. And so, long story short, we basically split up. I moved in with my sister, who just moved to Toledo, Ohio recently as well. And then, I keep paying for my share of, the apartment that we were renting. So 8 months later, we officially get, like, I guess, an annulment technically, but like a divorce in court. And it's really throughout that 8-month process that my ego, everything gets demolished. Like, I am a person that has loved to in the past really just plan out my life, basically know exactly how it's going to unfold. And so, like, I was so passionate about Vima, about marriage, making this work, and everything is planned out, and all of a sudden everything crumbles, and then I'm left having nothing. And so then I'm like, Lord, what are you going to do with this? Like, because I'm just like not really sure. So, I meet with my pastor during that time, the church that I'm attending, and he gives me this CD of this TV evangelist / marriage counselor called Jimmy Evans, and the CD is called Every Great Marriage. And so I begin listening to this stuff. I begin taking in this guy and his preaching and his teaching, and I'm like, man, if I would have just known this stuff, I could have easily saved my marriage. Now, so I'm getting passionate and trying to like digest more of this stuff. And then one day I'm praying and I'm like, man, like, what if I could save people from going through what I went through? And so then I'm like, okay, so that would mean that, like, what if I did something like Jimmy Evans? And so I'm like, that would mean that I would go back to school. And I said, when I dropped out, like, I would never go back to school because I'm too much of an extrovert. Like, I love to just talk to people, have fun. Like, this is not for me. But I'm like, Lord, if that's what you want, I'll go ahead and do it. But say, where do I go? Do I go to University of Toledo? Do I go back to Lima? Or do I go somewhere else where you called me? I'm like, let me know. So the next weekend, my pastor and I meet, and he said, hey, I want to let you know that Great Lakes Christian College is offering a student 1 year free tuition to one member in our church, and right, we want to give it to you. And I said, okay, that's too good. Like, that's where I'm going. Now, before, like, trust me, Gary knows this. Ohioans don't like Michiganders, and Michiganders don't like Ohioans. So I said, that's one place I'm not going to go, is Michigan. But I said, 1 year free tuition, too good to be true. I said, okay, that's where I'm going. So, mind you, I enrolled in Great Lakes Christian College with the psychology / counseling major. Now, you see, midway through my first semester, I was taking Intro to Biblical Interpretation, and my professor, and who became my mentor ultimately, he showed us the complexity of the Bible, which just completely blew my mind. And that's when I decided that I was going to go ahead and switch to the advanced biblical studies major. I was going to get my master's. I was going to get my PhD, and I'm going to go ahead and teach this stuff for the rest of my life, because I'm like, people need to know this kind of stuff. Like, why was I never told about this stuff? So, like, let me quickly give you an example. The illustration that he provided was Solomon. So in Deuteronomy, in the book of Kings, Solomon says, oh, that he's got, this many wives, he's got this much money, he's got this many horses. And, in the American church, that was like, dang, that was the glory days. That was like, make Israel great again. Those like glory days of Israel, let's just say. And so then he takes us to Deuteronomy 17, and it says, hey, when you enter the land, the king should not have this many horses, this many wives, this much money. And I was like, okay, so like, no, like that was not a good thing. Like that was explicitly the thing that he should not have done. But we have made it seem like he was like balling. And so I was like, okay, like people need to know this kind of stuff. Like people just need to know. And so that's what I guess started my journey in biblical studies.
Sounds like you've always had a fire within you to understand the human experience. And it looks like you've been acting upon this, especially the fact that you like to move around to get like a real sense of home. I can kind of understand what it's like to not want to live where you are coming from, but also trying to make a home elsewhere, all while having a passion burn inside of you that says, yes, we're all capable and are going to do amazing things. At some point in time, some of us can recognize that we have a flame earlier in life, or they always feel it burning. They know that they're supposed to translate the human experience through their lenses as best they can to those around them and be able to grow at the same time, because we're naturally curious as to what the fuck this is, right? And the Bible's much like the Quran or, the Old Testament, the Jewish, documents, they're all stories And they're all written out in a manner where they're giving you basically the keys to understanding life and how we're supposed to interact with ourselves and each other and the gift that has been given to us, the present. It's nothing more, nothing less. I mean, it can mean more based on the lenses that you wear and how you translate it and apply it to your life. But on the surface, I say this a lot. Religion, for the most part, it's a pizza. And each slice has a topping. And those are each religion, but they're all pointing at the goddamn middle. And it's that stupid little table there that keeps a box from slamming on it. That's God. Like, I don't know how else to put it. They're all selling the same shit. And we all should be doing it. They're amazing tenets. Like, do unto others as you would do unto yourself. That's pretty damn smart. What I've learned, I'm not a religious guy, right? I kind of laid out my philosophy right there. Feel like they're all kind of telling the truth. It's like DC and Marvel, right? But at the end of the day, if I just treat someone with kindness, and I started to think about this, if every time I walked up to you, I smiled and was happy, was like, what's up? Anytime you thought about me when I wasn't there, who would I be?
The weird what's up guy.
But you'd be happy. You wouldn't be upset with me in the absence of me. And at the same time, you're getting treated like I want to be treated. You're going to greet me back with the same thing in the majority of the time. We like to create the people that are around us when they're not around us.
Right.
So if we do unto others, we maintain that position and we help them maintain that position going forward. I commend you for acting on your message, the way that you came across your flame and how you've ignited it or removed that glass so that it can actually get out to humanity. You know, a lot of people get lost in them. I don't know. It's almost like now religion has ads.
Right.
Like it's like when you're scrolling through it, it pops up that basic 8. Like I was talking about, the kids' Crayola box, and it doesn't let you look under it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, like, don't even get me started on like, American Christianity nowadays and just religion and like, of course, like the divide that it causes in our world, because that's just a whole other topic. But, Jay, I appreciate that, but I do want to let you know that, the story continues and it gets much, much, much more complicated. And so, if you want me to share that part and how it got complicated, I can do that as well if you like.
So are you speaking in the historical sense as to how the biblical portrayals have been misportrayed or given that's seasoning depending upon who was writing the edition? Something along that lines? Or the canonized books versus non-canonized?
Well, no. So that is also another discussion that we could 100% have. But no, that's, of course I learned that, but that's not what I guess I'm referring to. What I'm referring to is that, I got into biblical studies, but I am looking at it from a historical sense in that my life turned out, it started one way and it turned out a different way. And I didn't expect that, I guess. Let's just say.
I like that. Gary, you've always had an interesting take on religion as a whole. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, my mom worked for the Catholic Church my whole life, like 35 years or something like that. And while I'm not a huge fan of organized religion as a whole, for many reasons, that gave us, what we needed to survive, single mother and everything. So I always had love for that particular church and the people there that ran it. And it's kind of similar to what you said. It's like, it's like a lot of pages to just be like, hey, like, be cool. Don't be an asshole. Like, help people out that have less than you. And like, just, it's like, if everybody lived by that, just like basically what you said, do unto others, like if everyone was just cool and helped each other and, had morals and like, hey, if someone did that to me, I would hate that. So I'm just not going to do that. It's like, if they're, and they all say the same thing in different ways, for my limited knowledge of it. But most religions say the, few basic things like, which if everybody lived by what Jesus represented, like it would be great. But the people screaming Jesus the loudest usually have AR-15 as well and a whole bunch of racism in their back pocket. And it's like, well, that guy did not look like Matthew McConaughey for one thing. That dude looked more like Bin Laden than McConaughey.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he would definitely not be on your side if he came back today with the flag and the rifle. He would be on the other side of the border, like trying to help feed and clothe the people. So, like that's a whole big thing. But I think religion's fascinating as historically and how it's influenced the world, and especially like as religion had grew and spread and took over different places, either through force or, because the message got through to the people and they accepted it. So it's an interesting thing. You did say that you went to Duke, and here at UNLV, we have a saying that God hates Duke. So that's kind of a topic I'm not really sure.
That's funny.
God hates Duke.
Yeah, so
I love the simplicity behind that cut. It's just right to the mark.
Yeah,
God hates you.
Yeah.
It's an old rivalry.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But it's
right. You're right. Trust me. Right. I was totally aware too. Like right. The UNC Duke division and rivalry exactly. It's just like the Ohio State versus Michigan kind of like. It's so ingrained in the culture that it is like living and breathing every single day, and you're surrounded by it when you live there, because exactly either you're Duke or you're UNC, and you got to choose a side.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It's a mask, right? It's a character. You have to pick a character when you live in that area of the world. Otherwise, you're probably ostracized or not part of the conversation unless you're wearing a stupid windbreaker with the right O or M on it or some shit. That's so funny.
There's no right M. Right. There's a right O, but the M's.
The M's are a no?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry to hijack your story with my college basketball or football bias. But UNLV hates Duke and Ohio State hates Michigan. It's like I don't think Duke cares about UNLV anymore because they went on and just been killing it forever. And we just had a couple of years in the 90s where we were rivals, but we hold on to that.
You have to.
Whatever works. Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
But you were talking about, your life not going the direction that you intended it to. You had two bad things happen, right? The accident and then a divorce, which at the time, both those things obviously are stuff you wouldn't want. Hopefully one day I get in 100-mile-an-hour accident and then I get divorced. No one would be like, hope that happens. But it seemed like you made the best out of both of those, and those sent you in directions that improved your life as opposed to, the opposite. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I 100% believe that we are all products of our past and of our experiences. And so, right, everything leading up to the present moment has shaped me for this present moment. Like, I 100% believe that. Now, right, and, another unfortunate thing is I had a biological father, but he passed back in 2013. And so that was another sad thing for me because, I love my father and he loved us. And not having my father see me grow up and stuff, that was sad. So, right, all these different aspects of my life definitely have shaped me. Now, you see, I can't say that I have been always the best, and I haven't. I haven't been the best at processing all these traumatic things that happened to me. Now, of course, like with my first year at Great Lakes Christian College, I did go to counseling to go ahead and work through that divorce because, that really did affect me. Like, I don't want to downplay it at all. Like, I one time driving home from work, I was contemplating suicide because I was just at such a low point. But, exactly, like, I focus on the fact that, there's so many people that love me, so many people that would not want to see me die. So, I worked through it. But right, exactly. All of it has led to where I'm at, and it has all influenced my thoughts, my philosophies about right life and people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Gary, if I guess that gets at what you're trying to get at, but yeah,
It's a, people, the past is in the past, and like I firmly believe in leaving it there, but also it's the, your thing of Play-Doh, and and all your experiences like mold you into the person. So, while I try not to dwell on things in the past, I do try to learn from the mistakes I made and also the things that went well. But yeah, like if you didn't go from Hungary to Lima to like and the people that you met and the experience that you had, you'd be a totally different person, than
right,
so it's like you have to take all the good and the bad. And, some people grew up with a perfect life and then they get to
right,
college or something and shit hits them in the face and they have no clue like how to process or deal with it at all. And then some people are getting the shit end of the stick from day one. They never see anything else or see that they have the potential to do other things. And,
they're
so
excited that they got the cafeteria job and the extra $15 a week, and they're getting to sling mashed potatoes, because where they came from, that wasn't even a chance of happening. And they're standing in college now, getting a chance to do that, as their ride. I would totally have been happy with that. If a school had given me something that somebody else would have considered horrifying, you're going to do what? I'm like, fuck, I can get out of where I'm at and I can just sling some mashed potatoes to get my degree. Where do I sign up? I'm out. But, for everybody else, it's not the same.
right.
I want to take a step back. You had mentioned during that time frame of the divorce and after the accident, I think it was more towards the divorce end, you mentioned that you had, I think, shattered your ego had become dissolved to some, so to speak. That particular crossroads is something that I think a lot of people hit regardless of religion, but can have a catalyst effect that makes them turn to a life of change or a life of purpose. I think that we find our greatest purpose when we're on our knees, and when we're less involved with the mask, because the mask isn't real. The mask is what we're told we're supposed to have, and it's how we want people to see us. And it just doesn't work that way. And when you hit the ground with that mask and it shatters in front of you, did you feel a form of personality dissolution as well?
I would say during that time, not as much as recently, because the fact is, I wanted to mention, the fact is, I also, in much more recent history, had another, like, right, ego death, or like at the time when my life just fell apart, didn't expect it to happen. So at that time, I would say not as much, because, like, mind you, Jay, I'm importing, I guess, this ego lens and these things that I know now back into that time. Like, at that time, I did not know about the ego. I was not philosophically minded. Like, not to be mean to Midwesterners, but I was simple-minded. Let's just say, and
I'm just looking at Gary as you're saying this, because I just want to see how this floats across the room.
it's true. I mean, if you're in a small
I live
town
in
and you
Florida,
got
man, you don't have to
Cracker
excuse
Barrel
it.
and people line up for fucking
Yes.
6 hours when the Olive Garden moves in, it's like you only have so much knowledge, and especially before the internet, like you only had what was in the place where you lived and whatever ABC, CBS, and NBC put on at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
So, you only know as much as you're exposed to,
100%.
and also let me also mention the fact is, like, right, in Lima, you don't have the opportunity to become cultured. Like, the fact is, in Chicago, I go outside immediately. I'm met by, this person from this nation. I met this religion. This, like, you are surrounded by
Tripping over
diversity.
museums.
Like, just all sorts of difference. In Lima, Ohio, you have white Midwesterners. I'm sorry to say, but predominantly. And so, like, you don't get exposed to these different things. And so it's like your location
I
does
love
determine
it.
your
I
exposure.
loved it. As soon as I got out of where I was from and I did get a chance to get out there and start sampling the world, it was like getting to go to the buffet, not knowing the buffet existed. Right. And just be like, wham, you open up, you're like, holy shit. I get to hang out with all these people from all these places all the time. Like, I don't have to wear a mask because say you are in this small community that is, has the limited amount of information that it's consumed and it's generational, though, because those communities they're super generational. Everybody knows who everybody is, that kind of thing. So I don't know, man. I just think that
Yeah, I mean, even in Cleveland growing up, we had white people and black people, and you had white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods, and very few that were even intermingled between the two. And we had one Asian restaurant, and it was Japanese, and turned out that it was owned by Korean people. And then, we had some Puerto Rican dudes that everybody thought were Mexican for half my life, and that was about it.
When I came back from Japan, I had somebody ask me to speak Japanese to someone at one of the Asian restaurants or the sushi restaurants. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, Chief. I was like, that person's from the Philippines. That person is Taiwanese. That guy's Spanish. Like, if I start doing this, I might as well just cross a border somewhere in Europe and try. I'd have a better opportunity of them understanding me if I crossed a border in Europe than I would if I tried to start speaking Japanese to this dude that's Sri Lankan. This is not going to work.
Yeah.
We have such a limited amount of exposure here, and we're such a media consumption society that we even believe that other countries are other things that we've never seen, historically inaccurate things. We just wear this lens that doesn't allow us to perceive other people's cultures and viewpoints. We've been given a script. I mean, for the longest time, it was, I don't care about communism, democracy, capitalism, whatever it is, but the red shirt versus blue shirt thing forever. I mean, the Rocky franchise capitalized in 4 on the red versus this. We have such a limited amount. It's a funnel. It's a funnel of information. And one of the things that came for me after the fact, when I started to get an understanding, you're still there, Kay, by the way. It does that to take away from the experience for us, but not the recording. But when you grow up in that small community, you don't have the same lenses as people do on the outside, right? You've consumed all of the terminology, all of the implicit bias. I recognized when I left there that not that I subscribed to a lot of the implicit biases, they were there, but not there. But when I got out into the real world, they made themselves more apparent. I talk about it all the time. There's an instance when I was in the Army, somebody had gotten hit in the mouth with a remote control and it broke their front tooth. And he come running into my barracks room laughing with his hand over his mouth. And he's like, so-and-so threw me the remote control and he broke my front tooth. And I'm like, dude, nuh-uh. And he pulls his hand down and I'm like, sure as shit, it's broken in half. And he looked dumb as shit. My mind made him go from a college degree to outside 7-Eleven and, panhandling. And I didn't recognize at the moment, because you said that ego dissolving that took place, you didn't recognize until later in life. That was my waypoint for one of the things that I recognized later in life. It bothered me a lot that day. That night I went to bed. Why? Yeah, it was funny. But why did I see him that way? That did not make sense to me. Why was he poor? Why was he slow? Why was he a bumpkin? All these things. And later in life, it started to reveal itself, that I was told that is the perception I should have. That's when I started breaking things apart. And I'm like, okay, well, I bring it up all the time. People have a soundtrack. We can mentally place a size and intelligence and all these things to a simple boom, 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 boom. What do you know? Immediately they're fucking fat, slow, all these different things. Why does that happen? I don't like that. Why is somebody telling me how to feel with a sound? It's so fragile how we take in our surroundings and how we judge things on just sphere micro levels. So I get what you mean. It took a long time for me to look back at that and understand why it bothered me. It was because somebody else told me how to feel in that moment. But we don't realize until it's later in life. I do understand now why, older people are like, you'll never understand until you're older. Oh, shit.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. But yeah, you see, like this whole ego journey thing for me is very, very recent, as you might think in my story. And of course, certainly to a degree, I did go ahead and lose my ego identity / narrative that I had built up to that point. And then, of course, then it was destroyed. However, I do want to let you know that, if anything dies, then, it can come back even stronger afterwards. Because let me tell you, that ego narrative and this thing that I built throughout my biblical studies, it didn't result in anything good. Let's just say.
I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this because you had submitted a video. And the way that you spoke to your situation, your life, your path that you had taken, you would expect someone to focus more on the fact that they had wrecked at 118 miles an hour. But you did not. That was but a blip on the radar, it seemed like, of who you were. And a lot of people will choose that chair. At that moment, you're at a crossroads. Can I become the guy that wrecked and never work again? And it's not my fault for being who I am, yada, yada, yada. I mean, that is a legit comfortable chair that means you don't have to get up and repeat the hamster wheel for the rest of your life. And a lot of people will take that. They'll pull the parachute that day and say, I am Uncle Rico that wrecked the bike. And that's it. Right? But you didn't do that. And now you're talking in words that are not necessarily native to the biblical talk of the Bible Belt. Because when we say things like ego death and dissolution of character or personality, that lends more credit to a metaphysical or what's the new pharmacological, natural pharmacological remedies like ayahuasca, psilocybin, that kind of thing. So are we talking about a journey in that direction, or are we at another event?
Yeah, no, for sure. So that's where I am currently. That's where I have ended up. But I mean, I can, I guess, basically give you the narrative of how I ended up here currently. After I guess, switched to the advanced biblical studies field and then, pursued that track, I guess.
So if I'm to understand correctly, and I kind of do want to go into this, so we're getting up to an hour, but I want to give you a chance to tell us where you are, because I think that the world is here. I think that we're on the precipice of change, understanding, empathy, and growth as a species in general. I think we've all been headed towards this, and you having that crossroads right now is something that I think that people would relate to. So please feel free to discuss that right now, and we can always come back to it later. But I know Gary has had a few psilocybin experiences, and I've discussed, those modicums of therapy as well on the show in the past. And I like to see that the dissolution of a religious character within ourselves, or a religious ego mask that we can create over time, is a very heavy duty one, because it comes with tethers of shame and guilt that are built into that mask. And when you start to break those apart, it can become very traumatic. So please share. And I'd love to come back later and hit right at this point another time, because this took the left turn that I thought I was going to see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the fact is, Jay, I 100% respect your time and stuff. Like, I don't need to share it right now because, it's
Please
quite
do.
the story in an, okay.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay, well then, I
yeah, you can't leave me hanging like that.
It's the best, but I want to give full disclosure. The stuff that I'm about to say is crazy, and I know. So just take it for what it is.
Buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get fun.
That's right. That's right. So, so, I switched to advanced biblical studies. I'm laser focused. Like, I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, this is what I need to do. This is like my purpose. Now, so, right, I began in August of 2015 at Rediscovering Christian College. Now, in the spring semester of 2016, well, actually, before I say that, in the fall semester of 2015, I'm reading my Bible just in the morning, my morning meditation, my morning Bible reading. And I come across 1 Samuel 15:17. Nathan, the prophet, says to Saul, the first king of Israel, even though you're little in your own eyes, are you not the head of the tribes of Israel? And then, at this time, I'm very Christian, very on fire for the Lord. And all of a sudden, I feel this like presence, and I get goosebumps all over my body. So I, at that time, equate that, okay, this is the Holy Spirit. So I'm like, okay, Lord, what are you saying? Like, you're the head of the tribes of Israel. I'm like, okay, I'm not the head of the tribes of Israel, Saul is. And you're like, okay, today there's, so I'm like, okay, Lord, whatever. If it is from you, confirm it. I know it sounds crazy. 3 days later, my coworker, not Christian, we're just, coworkers. And all of a sudden randomly says, okay, I could really imagine you being a king in the next life. And then immediately I'm like,
Gary, man, you're such a shitty friend. You don't tell me things like that. Like, you're supposed to greet me with like, you need to step up your game. He gets friends fucking show up and be like, bro, you're going to be a king next fucking life. I'm kidding, dude. You're a great friend.
That's great. Yeah.
I'll work on that.
Gary's motto is hype your friends, by the way. So that was the meanest thing I could have said to him. But it was too easy of a joke.
Yeah, you're a king in this life.
I love it. No, I love it.
What's that, Gary?
Yeah. So you're a king in this life. I don't know about the next one. I mean,
no, next one, definitely not.
Right. Well, hey, we don't even know what's in the next life if there is one, but who knows, whatever. But so that begins rolling around in my head. I was okay, like I don't know what that means. So the following spring semester, 2016, I decided to go ahead and go to a trip with my school to the Dominican Republic. I've never been on a mission trip in my Christian life. So I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going down from Lansing, Michigan to Toledo, Ohio, to go ahead and meet my mom, who is driving up from Lima, Ohio to Toledo to go ahead and pick up a luggage. And we get there, meet up, and she says, Kálmán, you won't believe. But, I usually like to listen to music when I'm driving in the car. But today I just felt like, I should go ahead and listen to some preaching. So she said, I just reached into my console and pulled out one of the random Steve Sampson CDs that I had in the car. Now, mind you, Steve Sampson was this preacher / prophet guy who visited our church once a year in Lima, Ohio. And she's like, hey, he prayed for you at the end. I was like, and she's like, you won't believe what it is. I'm like, okay. Like, so I on the way back home, I popped it into the CD player in my car. And of course I have the recording of this as well. But so back in November 9th of 2010. So this is my high school era. I'm not Christian and all that stuff. I was having a lot of headaches at the time. And, I don't believe in this mumbo jumbo, but he does the sermon. He says, okay, now I feel like we need to go ahead and pray for people with headaches. So I said, okay, whatever, it's not going to hurt. I'm just going to go ahead and go down. So he prays for several people. He gets to me and says some things that I'm just like, oh my goodness, as I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't believe it. So because, I have listened to this, I've tried to figure out so often, try to understand what this is all about. But I've listened to it so much that I could basically repeat it to you verbatim. So he says, he says these things, and he takes the pause. He's like, I see you walking on hot coals for a short season, and you're going to say, oh, this is like painful. This is not what I thought. But immediately, God is going to throw you into your destiny and your purpose. And not only is God going to throw you into your destiny and purpose, but you're going to love the way that the Lord leads your life. Now, I remind you, like, this is going to be a struggle.
During your headache healing, he said all this?
Yes. So he doesn't even pray for my headache. He doesn't even pray for my headache. Like, he just immediately jumps into like crazy stuff, like, and so mind you, okay, so I hear this stuff. Okay, so you're going to walk on hot coals and then immediately be thrown into your destiny. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So my divorce, which just happened, like a year prior, so bad, like got me in the dumps. And then now I'm in another city, loving my life, loving biblical studies, finding this purpose. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, is this real? Like, I feel like there's something there. And now, mind you, another piece is in the beginning of the prayer / prophecy. He says, he's like, God is going to cause you to be so intuitive, so cognizant of what he is doing, that not only is it going to be a blessing for you, but a blessing to others. So you see, that's that. Now, mind you, if you study biblical studies and you study the prophets, people most often, especially in the culture that we live in, think prophets of the Hebrew Bible / Old Testament were fortune tellers. They were future tellers. They were able to go ahead and prophesy what was going to happen, like God told them and stuff. However, that is not a correct, and not proper view of prophecy. People, this is the best phrase to convey it. People think that prophets are fortune tellers, but they are not. They're foretellers. They were able to read the signs of the times and instruct the king on what's going to happen. So, for instance, the prophet says, hey, Babylon is going to come get us. And now, how was he able to go ahead and say that? Well, because they started and got to Syria. Then they were going in the Fertile Crescent, and they were going to hit Syria next. And of course, naturally, hit you along the way to Egypt. This is like the ability to read the signs of the times.
Based on the actual signs around that are happening. Like, okay, this group over here has become angered and they're starting to have some political unrest. And this group over here has, advanced from here to here. I can see how that could get misconstrued over time. Whereas it's some kind of, like you said, I'm predicting the future. No, I'm predicting the shit that you guys aren't looking at. I feel like the prophet now is the first mindful person.
Right.
Actually looking around at what's happening versus their own mask.
Yes, 100%. So long story short, these things all conflate together and basically provide to me this egoic messianic complex. So, okay, we have king, like I had this experience with king. And then, okay, I have a prophet, because, this being cognizant, being a blessing to others. And, this is the prophet section. And then, I'm studying biblical studies. I am learning all these things. And, in ancient Israel, who were the only ones who studied the Torah and studied these writings were the priests. The priests were the only ones that were literate in this stuff, and so that they could go ahead and teach the masses. So king, priest, prophet. What was Jesus? King, priest, prophet. So this messianic consciousness, ego consciousness, is, throughout my education goes full force. I'm like, but now mind you, I'm not dumb. Messiahs, they just, David Koresh was this messianic, and then you see what happened here. I'm not trying to be that. That's not me. That's not me. These are just things that are happening to me, and I'm trying to wrestle. What the frick does this even mean? I don't know, but it's with me. And okay, God has some big purpose for me, but what is it? Okay, is there something here? So, mind you, biblical studies is not for the faint of heart. It long story short, by the time I get done with my undergraduate studies, I still believe in God, still believe in Jesus, but my faith, my beliefs about the entirety of Christianity, religion, is vastly different than the average churchgoer. But I still believe. Now, I go to Duke, and, as fate has it, I complete the first semester, but then the rest of the 3 semesters are completed in lockdown because of COVID. And so I'm a super extrovert, love hanging around with people. And long story short, alongside this COVID and being locked up in a cage of your house and just being drained of energy alongside these continued crazy things that I learned about the historical context of the Bible and then like authorship, purpose, all this stuff. One day I'm just like, well, of course not just one, but throughout the time, I'm just like, I don't believe this stuff anymore. I really don't believe this stuff anymore. I just don't think I can go ahead and buy into this. Like this is not it. And so then that's Jay when exactly this other ego loss is like, look, like if I don't believe in this biblical stuff, like this Messiah like ego construction, like like it's done, like so long story short, and I thought this was my purpose and this was my destiny, this biblical studies and teaching it to others, and then I'm like, what is my purpose anymore? So yeah, I lost that, and so I graduated in 2021 from Duke, and ever since then I've been trying to basically rebuild my identity, find out who I am. And, in the most recent, like 6 months, I've been really leaning into egoic studies, Alan Watts, Eckhart Tolle, just this like living.
Love them.
Yes, me too.
Brilliant minds, unbelievable.
Yes.
If you for those of you that heard those two names, write them down. And if you haven't read their works or listened to meditations and things, Alan Watts I could listen to until the end of time.
Yes.
He could read me like a cookbook or like a manual for a car, like an old Chilton, whatever the fuck they were called. You could read that to me. That was for you, Gary.
Yeah. Old Chilton.
That was like the manual, the company that created manuals for every car. Yeah. It was for people that had to work on their own cars.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of those. My stepdad,
but Alan Watts could read that.
Yeah,
Alan Watts could read that to me, and I would be so happy. You're, I think, at a juncture that the majority of people are at right now, or in some way, shape, or form. The analogy I like to use is a bicycle tire and spokes and a stick, and that when the pandemic happened and we were locked down, we were riding that wheel. We were doing the same thing over and over. Get up, rinse, repeat, get up, rinse, repeat, get up, rinse, repeat. But the pandemic was a stick and they rammed it right in the spokes of the tire and everybody flew off of it, hit the ground, and were able to turn around and look at the tire that they never knew they were on. Right? And now we have these questions. I don't think that let me correct that. I think there is a reason for all of the bridges that you crossed and the books that you read and the understandings that you came to, because they're going to help you now in your, this is exciting, your rebuild phase where you get to discover yourself. Rebuild, I don't even think is a word for it, because I don't know that actually is what's happening. I think it's discovery. I think it's revealing who you were the whole time and getting to fall in love with Kay. Who was Kay when he was a kid? Who was Kay when he was dreaming? Who was Kay when he was playing alone? And who is Kay now to the world? And I think that that's going to probably be some form of interpreter, an interpreter of teachings that were meant for a different reason, that have messages that have been misconstrued by greed and domination, or material items, whatever it is. They've twisted and turned some of the most simple things, these parables and stories that some are real, some aren't. Some are, the understandings that you get from what you saw. That doesn't matter. If you break it down to the core, you get to see the simplicity behind it. It all goes back to the same area. It's a Mesopotamian river valley, kind of grew from there. Heads out to India, heads up north, You got a line from down in Africa. You got a few that hang out over here in like the Middle East. They never move, get a little Caucasianist, and you go up around the left, pick up some of the white or the blue-eyed devil around Germany and France, where I come from, in England. They like to get a King James version there, dust that up a little bit.
Right.
At the same time, we're all in the same soup.
Yes, we are.
We are. Yeah. Thank you for being courageous enough to face the human experience and embrace it. That's when you become a lighthouse. I say it at the end of almost every episode now, but I think that if you're a religious person, stop yelling it and start living it, because you're going to affect a lot more change if you stand up and become what it is that you're preaching. Just stand there and be it. That's a lighthouse. You don't have to tell somebody to follow God. Just follow him yourself and let them find you through your actions. Like, oh, this guy's living a pretty dope life over here. He looks happy. His family's all together. He's not, doing some shit that's against whatever moral compass he has. I can dig that. But if you're standing out there hitting me in the face with a book, telling me what I'm doing wrong, well, then fuck you. I'm not listening. I ain't listening to my parents. Why the fuck am I going to listen to you?
Right. Right. No, 100%.
Just 100%. Go be what you're naturally inclined to be before the implicit bias. Once you become that, then everybody's going to come to you. You're going to be the guy that's smiling every time you meet someone, and you'll be the smile when you're not there. Right? So I appreciate you, and I appreciate that you're willing to put something so personal out there, because I don't believe that anybody was waiting for that or ready for that left turn at the end, which I love that because it shows growth. That's not to say that I'm knocking religion ever, because I think if it provides you a moral compass and you do good things and you're not discriminating against others, rock on with your bad self. Wish I could have the same belief. Man, would it be cool to be able to throw it up to something higher than myself? That would be great. I'm too much of a narcissist, though. I feel like I've got to control it all.
Right. Oh, no, 100%. No, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Right. Of course, I try to be 100% exactly understanding in that sense that, hey, if that religion works for you, great. Please do it. If it makes you a better person, please do it.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't be hitting people out on the street or anything like that and running some more wild ass agenda. Right. I got too much shit in my own lane to be worried about. Gary,
exactly.
Is there anything you want to close up on?
Nah, I wasn't expecting that turn either. It's tough to deal with, I'm sure, because not only is it like your career choice, which you got deep into through all the education and time and money and effort, but it's also like your belief system too. We're so intertwined that, to change everything, most people don't do that. I'm a television producer, but it's not like my religion or whatever. Like if I were to change like what I believe in a way, and like also shift like my whole career path and everything, like that's a hard turn to deal with. And it's harder, most people don't, even if they start to feel that way or whatever, they'll just stick in the rut forever, and, for you to feel that way and act upon it and realize you have a lot of life left and a lot of things that you could do that are going to make you happy and, serve your actual purpose instead of, sticking to it because you've been doing it, it's like,
your hair is a metaphor for this whole entire situation.
I was just going to say that.
It is. You're rediscovering so much. And who knew you had such a beautiful inside there that you get to experience now? That's fucking awesome.
I love that so much. I'm going to use that. Yes.
That's wonderful. You should.
It's like when people like,
go ahead.
Like when people get out of the army, like you can't have a beard ever or anything. Like the first thing anyone does is they just grow the beard. It's like, that's a sign of like, I could do it. I could be free. I could let the beard grow, and it's like, if you're like, in front of church people all the time, like they would judge you if you had big, long, like curly hair. Like he doesn't look like a pastor. Pastor's prim and proper and has a perfect haircut.
Right. And then I guess these don't look like pastor material.
Holy shit, you kept those covered the whole time. How do you do something like this? This dude, like, you sprung like a whole bunch of hair, then just threw up some fucking sleeve tats.
Yeah.
And I love this. And I'd like to go on record that further out, let's say a year, I'd love to check back in, see how this journey is going. And I also want to come back to something that I completely forgot about. Are you studying comedy as well?
I actually am. Yes, I am.
So being new to comedy, I would love to see the spiritual growth, how comedy is infused in this growth process, because I know that it's got to be a huge mechanism, and how that helps you get to where you are then. Can I get you on the record now?
You want me to talk about it right now?
No, I want you to say that you're going to show up in a year and tell us about this.
100%. Exactly. I would love to.
Dude, I love it. All right. Well, I don't have anything further. You want to tell everybody where they can find you at?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, like they can find me in most of the social media platforms and Facebook, search by my name. On TikTok, I am at one Kálmán Máté altogether, my name. I have a funny one. I also have a TikTok channel for biblical studies called at tidbitbib, and then of course I have a YouTube channel for that equivalent. And so, yeah,
we'll put that all in our show notes so everybody can find it. I think they'd be interested, because you're a very eclectic guy. You've got so many different layers, and I feel like we just got to see like part one of so many different chapters, and I'm excited for you. You get to rediscover yourself, and I live by the philosophy that to not be yourself is a slap in the face of whomever or whatever made you.
Yeah, no, Gary and Jay, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a pleasure, for sure.
Awesome. Hang on just one second. Remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.